Welcome back to another episode of High Output Juice. In the series, we examine whether battery flavor has any impact on the performance of a Milwaukee M12 tool. And today, we're going to turn our attentions towards some outdoor power equipment. Here is the M12 Fuel small-sized hedge trimmer. We're going to feed this a variety of batteries and see how it affects performance, whether performance goes up or down based on battery type. Now, we have to start with a CP 2.0 amp hour battery. This one here with the little dot marked on it. This is an older battery. It's a weak battery, and it's very interesting to see whether a poor battery, whether it has an effect on the tool or not. Then we have a good condition 2 amp hour battery, a good condition 3 amp hour battery, and then the wonderful high output 2.5. These little batteries are awesome because they got updated cells and are really able to deliver quite a bit of power. Almost as much power as these XC batteries. XC batteries, these can provide a lot of power because you got cells in parallel. And because the cells are in parallel, I have found in the past that the difference between the high output 5 and the normal XC 4.0 not being huge, but there is often a little bit of a difference. Anyways, we don't know what's going to happen with this hedge trimmer, so let's find out. And here's our setup. Sorry about it being sideways, but that's the best I could do, where we can monitor what's happening at the business end of the tool, as well as the electricals at the rear. Up here we have voltage, and then over here on a clamp meter we have amps. Amps times volts gives us electrical power in watts. Now, we're going to test each and every one of these batteries in turn. These batteries were slightly discharged, and then they were thrown on the sequential charger. They had a red light, and they charged up for maybe 15-20 minutes or so until the light turned green, and that way these are all equivalently charged. Now, the way that we're going to test this is, first of all, just measuring battery voltage, and that will tell us the condition of these batteries to begin with. And then after that, we're going to run the tool with no load for 30 seconds and see how much electrical power is being drawn. And then after that, we need to mechanically load up the tool. And a way that I figured to mechanically load it consistently, you can't just throw branches into there. I got this 1/4-inch hardwood birch dowel. I was playing around a little bit earlier, and I found that this machine has no problem lopping this dowel really, really nice and quickly. In fact, it has the power to lop 2 at a time, and even the power to lop 3 at a time. It sometimes jams. Nonetheless, I figure that a single dowel is all that is really necessary. So what I'll do is I'll feed the dowel through slowly so that it is chopping, chop, 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 chop. And after that, we can monitor our power, electrical power. We'll start with this older CP 2.0 battery. Pop it in. About 12 volts. And now let us have it run for about 30 seconds unloaded and see what the power consumption is. And now under load, I clamped a stick here just to keep this dowel rod from flapping around all over the place. A new CP 2.0, a little bit more than 12 volts, and 30 seconds, no load. And now under load. CP 3.0, a little bit more than 12 volts, 30 seconds, no load. And under load. CP 2.5 high output starting at quite a high voltage. Under no load 30 seconds. And under load. XC 4.0 starting well above 12 volts. Let's run this for 30 seconds. And with load. And finally, the XC 5.0 high output starting voltage, 30 seconds unloaded. And loaded. Now, for sake of completeness, let us try to cut through 4 dowels. That would be a maximum load. Here is a CP 2.0, the older CP 2.0. I'm going to do 3 shots and see what the maximum power draw is. And the new CP2. CP3. CP 2.5 high output. XC4 and the XC5 high output. And on to the results. Let us start off with battery voltages. This older CP 2.0 battery charged to the lowest voltage and it only got up to 12 volts, which is not bad considering in some of my other videos it didn't even get to 12 volts. Not too bad. These other 2 CP batteries, the 3 and the newer 2.0, these charged up a little bit higher, but distinctly to a lower voltage than either the high output or these 2 XC batteries. I wonder why that's the case. I wonder if it's the charger is cutting the charge cycle off a little bit sooner. I did attempt to charge these all in a similar manner, but maybe the charger is recognizing that these here are only a single set of cells, and it's reducing the charge. It's ending the charge cycle a little bit sooner. That's a possibility. Another possibility is that with these having only a single set of cells as opposed to cells in parallel, maybe these undergo a little bit deeper discharge cycles. Maybe they wear out a little bit quicker. That said, this 2.0 is the newest date code battery that I have and still didn't charge all that high. Nonetheless, I think these batteries, they're all in pretty good condition. This older one, I know that its capacity is down a little bit. It's, in one of my videos, I figured that I calculated it was about 1.5 amp hours, but it's still completely functional. This one here lives in my drill. And on to power consumption. Unloaded, this hedge trimmer draws roughly 50 watts regardless of battery type. Consumption was a little bit higher with the first test done, but I figure that's because the lubrication needed to get moved around, the mechanism needed to loosen up a little bit. But otherwise, power consumption was fairly stable at 50 watts. Now, insofar as runtime, this here is a 24 watt hour battery, the CP2, and that would mean that unloaded, this hedge trimmer could run almost 30 minutes with one of these batteries. Almost an hour with an XC 4.0 battery. However, unloaded is obviously not realistic. We want to load it up. With a moderate load, power consumption increases to around between 80 and 100 watts. And what that would mean is that battery life would be reduced to under half an hour, possibly as low as 15 minutes with the CP2, under an hour, and possibly as low as a half an hour with this XC 4.0. And this roughly does match up with my personal experiences. I use this hedge trimmer to maintain the bushes in front of my house, and I usually use an XC4 in it, and it definitely runs for a half an hour. Yeah, so half an hour is quite reasonable with one of these batteries. And insofar as maximum power consumption, this hedge trimmer definitely can use the extra power available from a high output or from the XC packs. With these compact batteries, the non-high output ones, this hedge trimmer was able to draw up to getting close to 200 watts of power. With this high output compact battery, it was drawing more than 200 watts. And with these XC batteries, it was drawing somewhere around 300 watts. Now, unfortunately, this graph, you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. The reason why is that this clamp meter, it doesn't have the fastest response time. It's only able to monitor current about twice a second. And when this hedge trimmer was being used in my test, it would have had a very large spike of power consumption that this clamp meter just wasn't very good at picking up. Nonetheless, looking at this graph, we can see undoubtedly that the XC batteries do provide more power to this tool. We can see that the high output provides more power to this tool as well. Also on the graph, we have the number of tries that it took. These compact batteries took between 5 and 6 tries to get through the 4 dowels, whereas the high outputs in the XCs, they were between 4 and 3 tries to bust through those dowel pins. So in conclusion, definitely a high output battery or an XC battery is going to allow this hedge trimmer to buzz through heavier and thicker branches. So which battery should you use? Well, in my opinion, definitely an XC pack. XC not only is going to give it better chopping power, it's going to give it better runtime, but also a little bit of weight at the back of this hedge trimmer is important for balance. This blade up front is long, heavy, moment arm. It's a little bit, it can get a little bit hard on the wrist if you use a compact battery, but using that XC pack makes this hedge trimmer just a little bit more balanced. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you found this useful. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.